Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to another Polemastic video, and today we're going to talk about SS Ethan, who's dropping later today, alright, with Lugia, on Reset, right? As usual, I will be pulling for it live, so make sure, tune in, check it out, right? Should be Masterfair, should be fun, right? These are pretty fun, so sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're terribly not fun. But also, again, for those who do want, right, to join the reaction videos, right? You guys could also record and upload your own polls to YouTube with the hashtag Pomath fan summons, POMA, right? Short for Polemasters, and I'll go over them. The SS Giovanni one, SC units to SS Giovanni reaction video should be out sometime later today, and damn, some of you guys got some really good stuff. Damn. Anyways, I'm not that jealous. But anyways, let's get into this. So, SS Ethan and Lugia, the new Masterfair, new Johto Masterfair, right? Striker, flying type striker, and he's good. He's very, very good. I like him a lot, right? For a lot of different reasons, right? And a lot of the reasons might not be a lot of like the typical reasons that you'd expect coming out from a striker, right? Because like usually people like strikers who do big damage, whatever. And look, Ethan's not really that. I'm not saying his damage is like terrible or whatever, right? And it's fine. But it's not really his like what numbers he puts up, right? That that I like him. It's a lot of different things that make me actually really like this unit. So let's go over those things. First of all, look at the stats. The special attack's solid. The HP stat's good. Everything else kind of sucks. I mean, speed's fine. Speed's fine. And then your main damaging move, Aeroblast, which is a 4-gauge move, right? 4-gauge move. The base power on it is not very good, right? Not very good. Mostly because it has that extra +1 crit, unfortunately. So Aeroblast base power kind of sucks. For a 4-gauge move. And you have X special attack, which is X special attack. You have Whirlpool, so you could like AoE trap them if you want. Right? I mean, you probably want to, because you do have like, well, it depends. Because you do have a interference sync 5 on your grid if you do have them at 3 out of 5, right? And then you have your training move. This is it. Has a 50% chance of reducing user's sync move countdown by 1, raises user accuracy by 1, applies crit next to the user, increases special move up effect by 3 ranks. That was a mouthful. So in short, there's a coin flip 50-50 chance of sync move countdown -1, accuracy +1, and then gets you guaranteed crit on your next hit, and then gives you +3 special move up next. So the interesting part over here, well, actually they're all kind of interesting. The only uninteresting part is accuracy, right? But you do have critical hit next, right? So that makes it so you guarantee crit on our next move. But the other thing is, it does also give you special move up next by 3 ranks, and special move up next is obviously a damage multiplier, right? It makes your next hits hit harder, right? And the multipliers should be 40% for each stack, and these stack, by the way. You could get multiple stacks of these. These do stack, and you get 3 stacks, so that's 120% multiplier. Although one thing that I did not that I did get wrong in the initial Ethan video thing when he first came out is it's actually an additive multiplier rather than a multiplicative multiplier. So it's not like a 120% multiplicative, with everything else. You have to actually add it to like all his other multipliers, right? So you have to add the 20%. Add it to like if you have crit strike 2 on him on his lucky skill, you have to add it to like crit strike 2, right? Whatever. And there's also like foul fighting 2, so it's actually additive rather than multiplicative. So there's that, right? So it's not like exactly a 120. Like you split that and it's like and it's like each hit you do like 10% more, and that's not exactly how it works, but still, right, it still get a decent amount of a damage boost in there. And then you have your sync move, which is just a normal flying special sync move. And then if you look at the passives are super interesting. First of all, you have Johto Spirit, which is just Johto Spirit, right? So it's powers up your team's special attacks by 20%, reduces special damage taken by 25%, and which each more Johto themed skill unit you have on your team, the more the power-ups, reductions, increase. We know this by now, right? That's generally how Master Pass works. And you have extend range here, which makes it so that your Aeroblast turns into an AoE move, right? And that's, I guess, also probably part of the reason why they didn't make Ethan hit that hard, right? Is because, you know, he doesn't hit that hard on the single Aeroblast, but the Aeroblast hits all 3 opponents, and there's no damage drop-off, right? There's no damage drop-off like regular AoE moves. So there's that, right? Obviously, the upside for that is you take out, you know, some of the sides much faster. But again, the downside is once you get back to only one single target, this thing is basically useless, and then your damage is just whatever your damage is, right? Which again, in Ethan's case, not that great. For Masterfair, again, it's a generally fine damage dealer, right? Which have a bit higher standards for, you know, Masterfairs, right? I guess. And then you have MP regain, which is one of the more interesting things that he has. So MP regain, it's a guaranteed chance to get an MP back for your train move, basically, right? Guaranteed chance to get a MP back for well, it doesn't have to be, well, it's both your you know, X special attack and the train move. So basically what happens is you come in, you X special attack, and then you use your train move, and then you sync, get the guaranteed crit or whatever, right? And then boom, you get it back, right? Because it's also, you know, counts after the either a move or sync move, right? So you get it back, and then you could use it again, and then Aeroblast. You could rotate between using Aeroblast, and this is it, right? So you'll always get that guaranteed crit, so you don't need to really bring a crit buffer, and then you always get that extra 3 special move up next stacks, which does make up for the fact that you're not using Aeroblast for 1 turn, right? So it's like every other team use Aeroblast, and again, the Aeroblast is compensated for, right, to an extent, with the extra special move up next, you know, ranks over here, right? And then your last one over here is Brain Power, which is that's the special version of Haymaker, basically, for Sync Nuke, and he is a very, very good Sync Nuker, right? So yeah, in fact, like, this guy's Sync Nuke is actually like low-key kind of nuts for a striker, right? So again, if you look at his like Aeroblast damage, it's not that great, right? It's not anything crazy. He's probably one of the weaker Masterfairs that, you know, that for that do damage, right? I think he's before this before this, in terms of all the Masterfairs before this, he should be the second, you know, weakest, right? He's just like a bit above Annie N, right? Him and Annie N are kind of, and they do have, again, similar mechanics, right? It's a trade-off between AoE damage and single target damage, right? Unless you count like Cynthia's like Shadow Ball in comparison to like Shadow Force or whatever, right? But yeah, it's definitely down there. So this is not fantastic, right? There's tons of units that do much more damage than this at this point, right? But the upside for that is, again, first of all, AoE. And then the other thing that I really do like is the fact that you are switching between Aeroblast and this is it, you know, every other turn. So instead of like 4 gauge every single turn, it's like 4 gauge, 0 gauge, 4 gauge, 0 gauge. So it's actually really nice on your team's gauges. So you could easily just run a lot of like extra other, you know, flying type damages or other whatever type damages on the side. And, you know, especially higher gauge units, even like a maybe even like a NY Lance or Annie Steven or whatever, right? And then you just throw 2 of them out there, right? And stuff like Annie Steven and NY Lance, they obviously do much more damage single target. So they help make up the damage loss, right, from running Lugia in terms of single target damage, right? So that definitely is nice, right? That definitely is nice. And then again, his Sync Nuke damage is very good for a striker, right? 3.2 million for a striker is very impressive, all right? Because usually striker Sync Nukes are not as powerful as, like, you know, tax, because, you know, the trade-off is, again, single target versus AoE, right? And strikers are AoE. But for an AoE, you know, striker Sync move, 3.2 million is a lot. That is a lot, right? So anyways, going to the grid, right? At 1 out of 5, you don't really get too much. you get most of your stuff like outside of the grid anyways, right? I don't think there's a lot of stuff really going on his grid. Most of like the big stuff on his grid is just either further to help your move gauge management for Ethan, or to further increase his sync move damage, right? So if you're just looking, just to have a flying type striker just to go out there and deal some damage, right? AoE damage with this Aeroblast, you don't really need the grid, honestly, right? But if you just want him to like have a really even more powerful striker sync nuke, like the only like regular move multiplier over here is like foul fighting, right? And like maybe you have grand entry, so you don't bring a special attack buffer, you can max that out himself, that's fine, or whatever, right? But outside of that, all this stuff is, Shower Power 3, Interference Sync 5, these are all sync nuke stuff, right? Sync Thinker is a post-sync thing, you get an extra +1, which I guess is your normal move damage. Then outside of that, it's like, it got a bunch of like, buy one, get one free off of your trainer move. These are just fleet feet, these just help your gauge management more, so right, I do think he's fine at 1 out of 5. 2 out of 5, again, you do get stuff like Fleet Feet over here, just helps him a bit faster. Foul Fighting, I do think 2 out of 5 is actually not that bad, right? Like, if you really wanted to go for more copies, 2 out of 5 is a solid one, because you do get extra 20% over here with Foul Fighting, so there's that, I guess, right? You get 2 sync move power-ups, which are nice. You got a special attack +20 up here, which is cool, right? So his 2 out of 5 is actually pretty good, and then 3 out of 5, again, you get the rest of the kit. Stuff like Sync Thinker is solid, right? Because you get an extra special move up, next after using a sync move. That's definitely very nice. Then Interference Sync 5, big, sync nuke multiplier over there. Then you have like Shower Power here if you want. BOGO is nice, again, just for better gauges stuff. Brawn Gain, extra chances for more special move up next. So like the rest of his grid is fine, but I do think 1 out of 5 is definitely enough, right? So now, all right, is this, if you're a free-to-play player, of all these banners that are up, because there's a lot of really good banners up. SS Morty's up there. SS Giovanni's up, right? Again, SS Lyre's coming. SS Chris is coming. Okay, here's what we'll say. If you don't have an issue beating flying weak stages, right? If overall your flying type, damage is fine, I'd say Ethan, as much as I like the unit, and he's actually the most the unit I'm most excited to try out, just because it's like really fun, right? I would say of all those units I've just mentioned, he probably has the lowest priority. I'd say I'd put him at the lowest priority of all of those, right? That being said, if you really do struggle with flying type damage a lot, he can definitely be a solid option there. But then again, it also kind of depends on like what others supporting units that you could really have around him. Like, for example, like if you do you have like any Skyla, for example, for setting flying zone, because like if you like also take away flying zone from him, like his damage is really kind of rough, right? I mean, still get the job done, right? Most likely, but it is going to be a bit rougher, because again, like he's just not that real like pure, single target damage deal that smashes through things, right? He's a bit more nuanced. He's just there. He's mostly there to, well, first of all, do some AoE damage, right? Take out the sides earlier, and then after, although single target units could also take out sides earlier, but also make it so that you could run a gauge friendly 4 gauge damage dealer, where you could also throw in a second damage dealer on the side, right, to help out again Lugia's lack of single target damage, right? In that aspect. So he definitely is a fine, unit, but again, it's just all the other units are just so insane, right? Again, whether it's SS Giovanni, SS Morty, where the other two are. Again, like, I do think SS Giovanni, SS Morty might be a bit more, I do think SS Morty is a more powerful unit than SS Ethan overall. SS Giovanni, I'm leaning towards, I feel like SS Giovanni's better, right, as a unit. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but the thing is, and 100% I definitely think SS Lyre and SS Chris are better than SS Ethan, but the thing is, if you're deciding between SS Morty, SS Giovanni, and SS Ethan, I would still probably go Ethan, honestly. because of the fact, right, if you for some reason just don't want Chris or Lyra, right, which again I do think Chris or Lyra is just a step above, right, for some reason you don't want Chris or Lyra and you're just picking between SS Morty, SS Giovanni, and SS Ethan, I'd probably still go for SS Ethan because he's a Masterfair, and so far Masterfair has not rerun, right. I'm not saying they're never going to rerun in the future. I'm sure they're going to rerun in the future, but so far from what we've seen, it's taken a very, very long time for them to rerun any Masterfairs, right? It's a year plus, right, since, you know, the first Masterfair Leon first dropped in the game. So it takes a very, very long time for them to rerun. And if you look at Pokefairs, they actually rerun relatively quick, right? Lucas and Dialga, they were out, was it February? Right? February or March. Lucas Dialga came out. And boom, they're rerunning next month, right? They're rerunning, you know, not too long after, you know, Ethan, Lyra, and Chris, right? So I do feel like SS Morty and SS Giovanni, these guys will, again, even if you think they're better than Ethan, right? They will definitely rerun sooner. They definitely will rerun sooner than Ethan, right? So Ethan's more of a, you know, he gets the more exclusivity points, right? So anyways, at the end here, if you want me to give a, you know, score out for in terms of pulling for SS Ethan, right? I'd give this guy a 9 out of 10 pull rate, right? 9 out of 10 pull rate, which is very, very, very high. It's not the highest. It's not 10 out of 10. It's not 9 point whatever out of him, but still very, very high because of, again, the fact that he's just a very, very solid and I guess very easy to use or easy to put in teams, right? Sort of striker. That again, very, very effective, and it is for flying type, which again, flying type does have a lot of very, very powerful damage deals already, but it is, I'd say, one of the slightly weaker types that already has like a terrain or zone or whatever, which maybe I'm you know, reaching a bit, maybe it's not that big of a deal, right? And also again, he's a Masterfair, right? He's a Masterfair. His master passive at the moment might not seem too much, right? Because his master passive, again, like the base is good, right? But like the more ally Johto, like there's not that many, right? Other Johto type special damage deals that you could utilize. Like for example, Kyogre, right? Kyogre's master passive is the same thing, except instead of Johto, it's Hoenn, right? Kyogre, he has that master passive that increases special damage, right? For the more Hoenn units it has, right, the better it is. And then Kyogre, you could run it with like May, for example, and it works perfectly, right? Works perfectly. You have another unit that also special damage dealer and then gets that boost both of them together. There just really isn't that like one like really, really great fit in terms of like a Johto special damage dealer. I guess if you really want to select maybe like Karen Houndoom, but then obviously Karen Houndoom has Karen Houndoom's downsides. First of all, you have to sync with Karen, right? In the first sync, which again, Karen's sync kind of sucks. And then also in this case, are you running like Darkrai there, or are you running any Skyla there, right? It's just it's a weird fit. I guess you can like argue, well, you could, you know, AoE trap the opponents with Whirlpool on Lugia, which is fine. That's cool and fun, right? It could, you know, trigger Houndoom's not dirty fighting, foul fighting multiplier, right? Which is good and all, but like he's just like his master passive at the moment is just not the best, right? In terms of helping other Johto damage. Obviously, Johto has a lot of fantastic supports, right? You could run Ethan with Chris. Chris works very, very well, right? All that stuff, but he's good, and especially, you know, should be a must pull if you're like a huge like Ethan fan or Lugia fan, right? Because first of all, it's a good enough unit, and again, in my opinion, people should always pull for their favorites, right? Because there's not really that many bad units in the game that they drop, right? So anyways, that's me this one. I guess hope y'all gentlemen guys think in the comments down below, like, enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel for some more Pokemon content. Again, we'll try to pull for this later tonight, so make sure to tune in, and good luck to anyone pulling, right? And also do keep in mind, SS Chris and SS Lyra are also coming soon, very, very soon, like 2 days apart, right? So all do keep that in mind. So have fun, folks. I'll see you guys in the next one.